Lord, no send me, I kill them with the vibe. Never ever let a hater kill my vibe. My left bygones with bygones. I'ma just bust my gun. So me no want the negativity in life. Can't never let
And I am so excited to have Hilda with us here today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Feel free to drop in the chat what city you're tuning in from. We'd love to say hi. I'm giving a shout out from Tanzania here, and we love all the guests wherever you are tuning in from as well. It is an honor to meet my fellow family member, as we agreed before the call. So Hilda and I have never met in person, but are always in similar groups and similar family groups. So we're both DFS Lab portfolio companies. We are both part of a Luxembourg House of Finance program together as well. And yeah, we share so many similar friends and a love for financial services. So Hilda, it is an honor to host you today. I'm so excited. And I think everybody's going to have a good time. So Hilda, to start us off, for those who may not know you, I know Naji talks a little bit about your background. If you were to describe yourself with 5 words, what would these 5 words be, and why?
I think for me, it's been really hard to define what this journey
Hmm.
of entrepreneurship has been. It's really hard to
Hmm.
summarize it in 5 words. But
Right.
just because you ask for 5 words, I think I will say
Hmm.
I'm first an innovator.
Mm.
That's really where my journey began. By training, I was a
Hmm.
software engineer. I have always been a software engineer. If you cut my blood, if you cut, you'll actually see I'm a software engineer. Really, that's what I do best. I've
Hmm.
had to really transition myself to be more of a business person, but really, I
Hmm.
still write code.
Hmm.
But then for me, I'm an innovator. I love technology. I love to build things.
Hmm.
Secondly, I am a problem solver. I like to solve problems. And
Hmm.
in that regard, very hard problems. I love to really be challenged by hard things. I'm a
Hmm.
venture builder. I like to build things. From when I was, 8 years old, I was still building things. My parents can tell you the same. I
Hmm.
never stopped building things. I could fix things in the house, and my parents would be like, you possibly be an engineer, and that's what I ended up being.
Hmm.
I am entrepreneurial. I love taking risks, and
Hmm.
maybe now more than ever, I think this is the right time to take risks. And
Yeah.
lastly, I believe I'm a leader. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you're gonna
Hmm.
be a leader. You're gonna take that responsibility. It's not going to
Hmm.
rest with your team. It's gonna rest with you. So I have chosen
Hmm.
to be a leader, to make the hard decisions, and to actually take responsibility of the decisions I make.
Hmm. Wow. Hilda, a lot of
I
people
hope
who are
I hope
tuning
I
in.
hope that's 5 words.
That is just it's a multiple factor of, so I see the math came through over there. um Hilda, many people know your background, or who are here today know about the companies you've started, the career you've had from multiple different industries,
Yeah.
but there's obviously a behind the scenes story that many people might not realize, right? And I would like for you to tell us that today. Like, where does all this wanting to build, this passion, where is it driven from? Was there something that happened when you were younger? Was it something that, you've always found yourself as somebody, as you said, who loves to fix and build things? But where does that stem from? Can you like tell us about the background for that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that question is really what I call my religion.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of things that I believe in, and
Mm-hmm.
one of those things is really, I have come to this belief that anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
It could be difficult, but it's not impossible. And that's really where I work everything that I do with my team, and
Mm-hmm.
anything that I solve personally in my life. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult maybe to solve it, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
impossible. And then when I come in with that belief as my religion, I have been able to really create that as part of everything that I do. As possibly I have been part of the tech ecosystem in Kenya from the early days when we had the iHub. I was part of the iHub founding team, and I was part of the team that was in the background executing, building the foundation. I left my job in Coke for iHub, which was, my boss kept on asking me, are you really really sure about this? Because I was just in the process of getting promoted to be the innovation lead in Coke, and I turned it down for joining IHUB, which my boss was like, what is this IHUB thing? And for me,
Uh-huh.
my belief was I wanted to build things. I wanted to be part of a community that believed in
Mm-hmm.
the same religion of the
Mm-hmm.
possibilities for Africa. And I had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of opportunities to go and work abroad. I didn't take them for the same reason,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to solve African problems. I wanted to be part of the solution. And so for me, to your question of what is really driving this, it's
Mm-hmm.
really that religion of belief,
Mm-hmm.
intentional belief, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I chose to take that path, and I knew it was not going to be easy. And I
Mm-hmm.
literally decided that, for my entrepreneurship, for my software engineering journey, it was going to lead me to my entrepreneurship journey. And really, the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of it was just a lot of possibilities. So I will talk more
Mm-hmm.
about that later. But
Yeah.
to just summarize it, it's been an intentional
Yeah.
journey, full of a lot of possibilities of what this could become.
Yeah. And Hilda, I also know where you're writing. You've got this book coming up. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So everybody, I'm sure a lot of the story is covered within there. Um, Hilda, would love to just dive into a little bit more there with this belief. So you are working at a large organization, a global organization, a multinational organization, and you decided to leave that to get into the tech ecosystem. And for those who don't know, iHub was one of the first catalysts for a lot of technology being built in Kenya and in the Eastern African region. That was probably one of the first big pushes in the technology and innovation space there. And so there are people who are listening to this right now who probably work for multinationals, who probably were in similar situations that you are. I know you talked about your religion, your faith being a big piece of this. How would you consider, if you're looking back or if they're listening to this and asking you like, Hilda, I'm considering taking this jump or leap of faith into tech or starting my own thing, but I'm not so sure. Everybody says, go when you're ready, go when you have enough experience, go when you have enough money, but you just jumped, quit right before you got a promotion. Can you talk about like what advice you would have for people who are listening to you right now, who might be in similar situations or looking to build Africans problems, figure out Africa's problems, but not sure where to start?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's also going to be how crazy are you ready to be. In terms of really taking that leap of faith, I think it has to come
Mm,
from the inner side of someone.
mm,
There's no manual to it. It's really just about what do you believe in. As I said before, for me, this whole thing of we're gonna build relevant solutions for the problems we have for Africa. And the
mm,
only way to do that is if we're gonna put smart people in a room and really all they do is, just do the routine job and that's really it for the rest of their life, we're not gonna get to where we want to be, in terms of really creating change and impact. And so for me, it was time to tell myself that I need to step out of my comfort zone and start to really do those things out of my comfort zone to say, hey, I know I can really work for, the big companies, but then I chose not to go that path because I
mm,
know there's something bigger. There's something much more to leave a legacy into that whole aspect of getting out of your comfort zone. So I think it's a very hard question, to be honest, because
mm,
it's a very intentional question, as
mm,
well, because it's not something I can produce a formula of when is the right time to step out. But I think
mm,
this is a question that every person listening tonight who's in the same situation should ask themselves: what is
mm,
your purpose and what do you want to achieve, in the end? And if you're not finding that right now, I think the question is, can you find it
mm,
elsewhere while being much more impactful to the stuff that you're doing, to really create
mm,
change and impact, if that's really what you want to achieve? So everyone has different motivation in life, so I can't really dictate that. But I think the most
right.
important thing is to ask yourself questions that really lead to your purpose, that really help you to understand that there's something bigger. And really, if you can be able to identify that piece, way sooner, make mistakes, there's going to be failures, there's going to be a lot of learnings, and I think that's part of the process. Trust the process, and I've learned to understand that that is part of the game. Once you do that, I think everything else is going to make a lot of sense. And of course, if you have the right support system around you, which is really where I am, I have a very, very supportive support system, mentorship, and people who really say, let's work together to achieve this. So it's going to be also involving other people who are going to help you to get there.
Let's dive into that a little bit more. So as you were making this transition into this, tech startup ecosystem and your career in technology, obviously because you were at Coca-Cola, did you have those mentors? And if not, how did you find them? How did you seek them out when you were starting at the beginning?
I mean, I will say, just being at the right place at the right time really helps because I was literally in the tech ecosystem, understanding everything that's happening at the time it was happening. And I definitely made the effort to do that myself. And in the process, I found the right people. In the process, I found the right team. In the process, I found people who would lead me to the right people. I call them destiny helpers in my own world. People who can help you to get to your destiny. And that's really, really the people I look for. They may not be necessarily people I work with, but then people will say, hey, by the way, you should talk to Benjamin. I think there's something there to really share and collaborate. And so, finding those people is what I call the art of serendipity. Just being at the right place at the right time, and that requires an effort. You have to show up as an entrepreneur. You have to really say, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna make connections. I'm gonna build connections. Some of them might be good. Some of them might not be the right connections for me. And so for me, when I left Coke, I joined the iHub, as I said, and at that time there was a lot of connections and networks, events that were really just coming up, and I took advantage of those
Exactly
events.
like this
I
one, right?
Yes.
Except not virtual. Yeah.
And of course, the world has changed. We're living in the new normal where virtual is a new way of connecting. And I would definitely challenge every entrepreneur not to shy away from attending virtual events, because there's still quite a lot to share and connect. And so this is one of them, as you said. But I think, like for me, attending those events was really something that I did intentionally to say, let me go and meet people and meet the right people, hopefully. And it just happened. It just happened to be part of the art of really building, the right connections, the right mentors. And I met people. I met my first investor for the previous company was a tele that got acquired. And we met, a first investor in the same meetups. I met my first team in the same meetups. And so,
Wow.
all these things are really just part of the process of making an effort to really be at the right place at the right time. And of course, everything else is, as they say, history. But I think it's just an effort that has to come from the person who really wants to build these connections. I have a lot of people asking me to mentor them. And I keep on telling them I don't have the time. But I also have mentees who say, okay, no, fine, let's meet somewhere else, and we've really made it work, because they are very proactive, intentional, and they want to make it happen. So I think anything is possible to make an intention to meet the right people.
And so let's talk about that journey. So I love what you said, especially this idea of discipline, being focused, and really going out there to get what you want. I think that's something I personally relate to and feel really strongly about as well, because it is the people who are attending things like this. It are the people who take that extra effort and try to find and learn from people who have gone before them and done some stuff that they really admire and want to learn from. Hilda, I would love to talk for you to talk about that journey, right? So from quitting Coke to iHub to your previous company and then now to Possession. Can you just give us a quick walkthrough of that, how things happened and some of the biggest lessons you learned from there?
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage everyone to get a copy of my book, A Kenyan Startup Journey. I think I've really talked about that journey there. If we do talk about it right now, I think we're gonna end up
We'll run out of time,
talking about
right?
exactly. So
Right.
I wouldn't want to do that. But again, I
Yeah,
just
for
to
sure.
summarize, that journey was a very intentional one, as I said. When I left Coke, I literally wanted to build, be part of the ecosystem. I wanted to contribute to that ecosystem. My motivation was I want to be part of a religion or a tribe that really leads to something bigger, leads to change and impact that we've never seen in Africa. And I wanted to be part of that. As I said, I literally had a lot of opportunities to work outside Kenya, and I chose to stay home because I saw the problems, I saw the challenges, and I said, I want to be part of this tribe. And when you find that tribe, it's really important that you understand you have to be part of contributing to it. And so I made that intentional effort to be part of it as a software engineer, and of course, really help it to grow. So iHub for me, when I transitioned from Coke with all the experiences I got to building something, looking at the challenges of a big company, iHub for me was where I really found a tribe of a community that believed in something bigger and say, look, we really don't know what we are doing. We are all crazy human beings. And we want to build something. We want to solve a problem. And that for me was really it. I wanted to be part of that tribe. And so when I joined iHub, and really being part of the foundation of helping iHub to come, to what it is now, my job was not just to research how we can get there. My job was also to build innovations. And that's how I ended up starting my first company, Wezatele. And so that journey led to a lot of what I describe as serendipity, where I met the right people, I met the right connections, networks, and most of those people, we are very, very good friends up to now, helping each other to grow. And I learned a lot. I built a lot of connections and experience at the same time. The African context experience, which is really hard to find. You're not just building a product just because it's cool. You're building a relevant product. And I keep on emphasizing the relevance aspect because I see a lot of entrepreneurs saying, I have an idea, I'm going to build a product, but then what's the relevance? Who are you building it for? And that's where I understood relevance. And then that journey really helped me to develop, really my innovation side of things. And the transition of it was getting to Wezatele, which was my first fintech company, and build a team of 10 exciting, awesome people. My co-founder, Sam and Newton, who joined me in that journey, I also met them at the iHub. And we built Wezatele with the intention of solving the last mile problem. And for us, it was really where we thought the jobs were going to come from. And we kept on asking ourselves, how can we enable and empower more young people to really get opportunities? And the answer was, can we solve for the last mile, which is really what's driving a lot of opportunities in the informal space for Africa and creating jobs. So we started building for that, and we got to a level where we were able to create so much value to the point that we had partnerships, strategic partnerships that say, let's acquire this business. And that's why it ended up being acquired in 2015. And we were looking for value add like credit to add into the equation. And Jumo came in and acquired the business. But again, at the end of it all, there was a lot of lessons and learnings, failures, mistakes that we made. And all that, as I said, it's really described in my book. But let me talk about Possessia, because I think that's really where all of that journey and lessons really ended up with. We literally.
How about you tell them what is Possessia for those who don't know at all?
Okay. Okay. So Possessia. So Possessia is basically a trust infrastructure, really streamlining, in very complex words, capital markets for the local, markets, Kenya, Africa. We're really trying to connect small and medium businesses with capital. And what we've done is we've really built an infrastructure that allows us to do that connection in a very complex way, but also in a very easy way that allows everyone to connect and create a network effect. And so there's investors on one hand, there's SMEs on the other hand. But really what we're just doing is enabling capital through our infrastructure. We have a lot of data. We ensure that we have the right people, and of course, at the end of the day, ensure that we are building the right technology to enable these people. And maybe just to go one step back, what is really the problem we're trying to solve? We, and this is also part of the motivation that I've just described, and you will see how it aligns with iHub and some of the things I've done in my past. As a result of all the experiences I've had in the tech ecosystem, right now we have more than 1 billion people expecting to enter the job market in the next 2 decades. The question is, where are these jobs going to come from? And who's going to create these jobs for these people? COVID notwithstanding. And of course, there's a lot of things to think about. Jobs, people have lost jobs. We need to think about how Africa is going to create the possibilities for the African youth in the future. And for me, and really the Pesesha mission is, the question is, we can be able to contribute to creating those job opportunities. And the goal is to ensure that these people are going to have sufficient jobs, they're going to create economic growth. And we believe the only way to get there is if we can empower more small and medium businesses, what we're calling the missing middle, where no one is really thinking about empowering and streamlining these people who are actually contributing 80% of the jobs in our current economy across Africa. And so this is a $19 billion actually financing gap in Kenya alone, where we are currently headquartered. We're currently scaling across Africa. We're now in Nigeria and Ghana, and now scaling in other markets as we speak. And
congratulations.
This is a $328 billion financing gap. And so we believe that if we can solve the working capital needs of these businesses, because that's really the chronicle problem that is hampering them from growth, we can actually get to that bigger picture of creating jobs and equality. And so we're trying to solve that problem as Pesesha. That's really the vision, the bigger picture. But we're saying we can't do it alone. So we're working with partners. We're working with a lot of, supply chain partners. We're working with a lot of network partners who have built these networks over time. And we believe that this is a very intentional path that we've taken. So in summary, what Pesesha does, Pesesha means capital enabler in Swahili. That basically summarizes what we do.
And I love it, and I love the Swahili touch. I mean, it's shout out to actually most of these new companies all have got Swahili names. So I guess you started a trend, Hilda. You started a trend. I love it. One thing I'd love to understand a little bit better. So just walk me through like how the money flow works. Like it seems like there's some aspects of lending and enabling people to grow their businesses. Can you talk a little bit more about that specifically to your current business?
Yeah, so we are not a lender. We just facilitate and enable lenders to actually use our platform. And, I think one of those questions is going to be how we've actually leveraged informal networks, like what we call in Kenya the chamas, to really
that's where I was going.
Part of our network in terms of the capital flow that is happening there. We basically have just built a platform that allows lenders to actually use our platform to connect to creditworthy SMEs and businesses. And so we do all the entire loan origination. So you'd actually say our focus has been loan origination. We vet the SMEs, we evaluate them, we determine their credit worthiness through our credit scoring models, and we've built a proprietary system that allows us to be able to do that with a lot of data flowing in it, alternative data which almost doesn't exist out there. And so we've built this over time, and it takes time. It actually it's really hard. And if if I were to do this again, I mean, I would possibly, need an entire army of people. It's really hard to build this
Right.
infrastructure because you really need a bit of
Mhm,
patience and really understanding
mhm,
the nuances of all the people, all the stakeholders in the ecosystem who are going to be part of our
mhm,
of what the infrastructure we've built. So to summarize it, I would say, for us,
mhm,
the lending piece is really the enabling platform that allows
mhm,
lenders to make right credit decisions. And the aspect of that is being driven by our credit scoring engine, which is really as a service to all the lenders who are
mhm,
operating in our marketplace. And then on
mhm,
the other side, we help small businesses to really become credit worthy. We
mhm,
take them through the entire process. We have financial education. We really
uh-huh,
help them to have digital tools
mhm,
to start building their credit worthiness. And as I
mhm.
said, this takes time. So you can
Right.
already imagine that some of the businesses we are working with are not yet there, but they
Right.
are working towards being part of the formal financial system, which is exciting. And,
Right.
and so for us is really, how can we continue to help these businesses to get closer to being financially included? And
Mhm,
there's quite a lot of work because they have never received credit before. We are giving them
mhm.
credit scores for the first time ever. We're
Yeah.
helping them to actually manage their business, their records through our digital tools. We're
Yeah.
really helping them understand how credit flows. And it's really a lot of work. And where we have reached, I think we have cracked it. Now it's just saying how
Mhm.
many more businesses can we reach to. So it's a very
Nice.
two-sided marketplace, and
Yeah.
we want to continue to understand it. I don't think we can figure it out overnight. We haven't yet completely
Yeah.
figured it out, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
that's
a
why we are
process,
working
right?
with partners. Exactly. And
Right.
that's why our model is very collaborative.
Mhm. Um, Hilda, one thing that, this is the first time for everybody who's tuning in right now. This is actually the first time Hilda and I are chatting on video or actually ever in person. We know each other from different groups. We message each other on WhatsApp here and there. I'm a big fan of what you've done. As a female African founder, had an exit and building another company right now. You're an inspiration to many people across the continent, not just women, but men as well, including myself. You talked so much about like this aspect of discipline being driven from part of your faith and where that's been growing. Now with the current product you're building today, this ideas of chamas. Chamas are like, for people who don't understand, there's people from the States who are tuning in right now. What are chamas? There's this idea of togetherness, bringing people together around a common thing that they, are driven by as well. So I see that within even the mission of what your company set out to do, but also within the work that you are doing on a day-to-day basis. What are chamas for those who don't know? And the second question I have from there is, you've been doing this for a couple of years now. And so what are some of the big unique insights or things that you have learned? Maybe, hey, we tried out this model, we realized this, we moved on to this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think those two questions have a lot of connection. So maybe let me start with answering what is a chama, especially for the audience that are not
Mm-hmm.
in the African context, because I think every African country has their own definition of chama in their own words,
Version.
but it's the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
And so a chama is really an informal cooperative society. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
best way to gener- generically describe it. It's a cooperative
Mm-hmm.
that is informal, but then it's basically,
Mm-hmm.
people pull in funds and invest,
Mm-hmm.
savings. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, people come
Mm-hmm.
together in a micro savings structure or group, and then they pull in their funds and then they invest
Mm-hmm.
in whatever form or shape. But then they could decide also
Mm-hmm.
that they are going to have
Mm-hmm.
a merry-go-round where the
Right.
money just circulates from one person to the other for
Right.
everyone to benefit. There's no
Yeah.
competition. It's really for the benefit of everyone, and I
Right.
think that's really the thesis of a chama. And it's the way I look at it, it's more of a cultural thing. Africa has done it so well. My mother belongs to a chama. I belong to a chama. So, the beauty about a chama is self-belonging. You really, it doesn't really matter your status of life or your age. You can belong to a chama. There's a constitution. There's a constitution
Right.
that's going to bind us. And I think what we've really done well in Possession is we've automated that behavior. We've worked with the chamas. In fact, almost 40% of our money comes from the chamas. And these are the cooperatives that are actually driving the liquidity on our platform. And they are looking at the SMEs that we offer to them as an asset class. So, like when a chama goes in on our platform, they look at an SME portfolio as an asset class to say, hey, instead of just investing in real estate, because that's what they do, most of them, or investing, within themselves, what else can we invest in? And then Possession platform becomes one of the options. So we're very, 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 very excited about attracting chamas. And just so you know, in Kenya, we have more than 300,000. And this is more than $3.4 billion of money flowing in chamas alone. And this is just in Kenya. We haven't talked about Africa.
Yeah.
And so there's a big opportunity, massive opportunity. So in short, I would say chamas are the ways to aggregate networks and people. And when I say about people, I mean businesses, I mean individuals, and farmers, anyone you can think of. Think of borders. These are the the motorbike riders. Think about those communities. Every community you can think of. It is definitely through the culture of a chama. There's a lot of trust that flows into that. And so that is the basis of which we've built Possession. We've built the Possession on the basis of formalizing those kind of informal investment circles or groups to come in and actually invest. And I will say this, and I keep on saying this as a joke, but please take me seriously tonight. We keep on saying in Africa, there's no money for investment. We should get more VCs. And I think a few months ago, we were having this debate of more local investment versus global investments. And we need more local investors to invest. But then I posed the question of, why haven't we not looked at chamas? How can we get chamas to invest in startups? Where is that money going to? If you're getting $3.4 billion flowing, and you're gonna tell me we have no money to invest in startups in Kenya, I'm worried. Because then that's really not true. So I keep on challenging the status quo of, we can get more chamas to invest in startups that actually have the possibility of growing to the next level. To your question on some of the learnings we've had in this process, I think it's part of building a trust infrastructure that we have been embarking on for the last 3.5 years of the Possession journey. Building a trust infrastructure is not easy. I think, if nothing else, we should learn from China. China has taught us a lot in terms of building a trust infrastructure. I think for us, 3 things that I will summarize about the learnings we've had in really taking the hard task of building a trust infrastructure. One is it takes time. You really have to think about information symmetry. We've really become very transparent on our platform. Investors have a lot of information to make decisions. We are very transparent driven. We don't have this thing of hiding things. If you want information, we provide. The other thing is education. We are a big believer of financial education, and it's not just to the borrowers, but it's also to the lenders, and so we've really taken that very seriously as core of building everything that we do. Our approach is also very proactive, and we have recently gotten the regulator's approval. We are the first fintech company to really get the blessings of the regulator, and mainly because we are doing everything right. We are earning the trust that we have been waiting for the last 3.5 years. And this is how long it takes. to earn that trust. It's not, there's no shortcut to it. And
Right.
for any fintech company that is listening to this conversation, there's no shortcut to building, a long-term infrastructure. So the regulator is behind us. We have transparency on our platform. We have agility and flexibility to take in feedback. And more importantly, we believe in the network effect, which is what drives us and the mantra behind Pesesha.
So with that in mind, Hilda's also launching Chama VC. So look forward to that coming out soon. Chama VC should be investing into different companies across the continent. No, but I think that is a really important concept, because even in Tanzania, Chamas are massive. In Egypt, they're called Roskas, different names across different jurisdictions and countries in Africa. It's big, it's part of our cultures. And I think there could be many interesting things that have been built there. Speaking of chamas, there are so many efforts across the continent. I see, some pitch decks here and there, people trying to digitize chamas. Why do you think a lot of that hasn't taken off in many different countries in Africa, this whole idea of digitizing chamas?
It's not easy, as I said. You're building an infrastructure that aggregates everyone in one place. Only few people have been able to do that, and we can learn from even global case studies like Alibaba and many others. But for me, as I said before, chamas are the natural way to aggregate people, to really bring the informal economy together. And so if you're gonna take the hard task of bringing the informal economy together, it's not easy. And because you're gonna bring farmers, you're gonna bring, anyone who is literally trying to get up the formal financial ladder, you have to educate them, you have to understand them. You're bringing a lot of players together into one place. And so if anyone cracks this, I think, that's gonna be the winner. But by the time you get there to convince everyone that they're all gonna win, they're all gonna get something in that ecosystem, they have to be incentivized. They have to be incentivized to believe so. And so I think one of the biggest challenges is really struggling with incentivizing all the stakeholders or the parties that are gonna be involved in that aggregation. And it's something actually we're still figuring out as Pesesha, but then we're saying we're gonna do one step at a time, one vertical at a time, because we can't understand all the verticals.
Right.
And so it's gonna be a patient game. And not so many people, unfortunately, Benjamin, not so many people are willing to be patient. Not so many people are willing to do the hard work. But I can tell you, we are dedicated to do the hard work as Pesesha, because we believe this is where the most impact is going to come from. And I think this is where people are going to win if we get it right. And it's not going to happen overnight. I think it's going to be years and years of aggregating people.
Right.
But I think once you create that critical mass of aggregation, then this is revolutionizing chamas. This is turning chamas into what investment in Africa should be.
Thank you, Hilda. I have 3 questions, but I want to keep them to short answers because we have a quick fire round, and then we'd love to wrap up. So my first question to you here is, I've seen you talk previously about investing in Africa, specifically Kenya, right? And there's all this data, all these statistics everywhere. I think Village Capital published one in 2018 about 90% of fintech funding going to a foreign national in Kenya or in Eastern Africa. Let's say, as a founder, as somebody who's been able to raise money internationally as well, probably a lot of people see this as like, oh, Hilda's got it easy, Hilda's got it good, you just raise money on this idea and she's fine. What are the things that people don't see? What are the things that you stay up at night thinking about? What are the things that, you talked about this idea of discipline that you put in all this effort to do in order to get where you are today? Like what is behind that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it was easy, I would definitely, I would be sleeping. I don't. It's not easy, even for a second time or a third time entrepreneur. I stopped counting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the truth of the matter is, it's a lot of hard work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's really no privilege that comes easy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be a lot of focus, and really just making it work.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I think, you know, one of the key things that I will say, in terms of this process is,
Mm-hmm.
accepting failure. I've failed so many times. People don't talk about it, but in the
Mm-hmm.
back side of things, there's quite a lot of failures. There's quite a lot of
Mm-hmm.
rejections. I have been raising around, and I can tell you, there's many
Mm-hmm.
many no's than yes.
Yeah.
And the question is, are you going to wake up tomorrow morning and take those no's as part of the reason why you need to quit? No.
Right.
And so that's the attitude that I have. Like, the no's just mean that I need to really do better. I really need to take the feedback, and
Yeah.
really go on to the next. And then maybe the question is, maybe this is not the right person to invest, and can they connect me to the right person? and,
Right.
and so it's just that positive thinking that has kept me going.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give up very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And my team will tell you the same. I always believe there's a silver lining, and you have to find it if you are
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to finding it. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, three things I would say. One is, I put the same amount of work. Fundraising is 100% of my job. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really sleep much.
Mm-hmm.
I literally put the hard work, and really beyond the hard work is discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very grounded, in terms of what I really need to do, as much as, it might look outside there that it's a very easy journey. It's not. The
Yeah.
second thing is, I have built a very strong support system around me, mentors,
Mm-hmm.
people who can coach me, advise me, and a lot of these people have been part of the journey, and they do it better than me. So I don't do it
Mm-hmm.
by myself, to be honest.
Right.
If I was doing it by myself, I would be not even talking to this event right now. I would be so tired. But I have people who
Right.
also believe in me and believe in my team, and so they come in to help, they come in to support and actually provide. And so it's really important to find the right people who can coach you, mentor you, help you in the
Mm-hmm.
journey, because it's not easy doing it by yourself. And then lastly, what I would say
Mm-hmm.
is I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be about, what you want to believe in. For me, as I said, very very early on in this conversation, is I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
believer of, it is difficult but not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And I work hard towards solving, um, the things
Mm-hmm.
that people think are impossible, and that's what excites me, that's what motivates me. So if you find that purpose, if you find that motivation, then anything else just becomes part of really getting towards building a legacy. So I don't know what else I can say, but please,
Yeah.
maybe a conversation on another day. But
Yeah, for sure.
fundraising is very hard, and all the stuff we have been able to achieve as Pesesha has been a lot of collaboration, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
mentorship, and a lot of the right people and talent behind us.
Mm-hmm. And for those who just tuned in, we just dropped a link to Hilda's book that's coming out. So take a look for more details and for more information on Hilda's book on the website that we just dropped into the chat as well. We'll also be uploading that when we upload this video on YouTube. Um, it's two last questions. So one's a quick fire round, and then there's one quick question before we get into quick fire round. The quick question I have is, what's the most important piece of advice you have received?
Um,
I'm sure
yeah,
there's
I mean, I
tons,
don't
but
know.
what's something that maybe comes to your mind right now?
Yeah, I think for me it's just, like, believe in yourself, because people really just only believe in you if you believe in yourself. I think for
Mm,
me, I have proven over time that, confidence and all those things are, if you build them, then everything
mhm,
else is really going to come in. And so for me, I think, like just every coach that I talk to is, just know that you can do it. You have the capability of doing it, and you can do it. And once you set that belief, I think anything else is possible. So I will tell everyone else, the only limitation to where you want to go and what you want to do is really yourself. There's really no one else.
I love it.
I think one of the questions that came from Twitter
Hmm.
was, what would I be doing 10 years from now?
Mm. Sorry,
I
I
want to
missed
make
that, by the
sure that
way.
I answer that question, because
Yeah.
um, this person who asked me that question, I guess, is someone I know, and I actually don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I think COVID has really changed about everything about the future. But let me
Hmm.
answer it this way.
Yeah.
I want to create, 10 years from now, I want to build an African fund. I
Hmm.
want to be able to invest in other Africans. I might not be may necessarily running another business, but what I want to do is to create an African fund that allows more young people to do better than me.
Hmm.
Because I have this belief now, instead of building another company, why don't I invest in 20
Hmm.
others that can
Hmm.
actually create more job opportunities, create more billionaires, and
Hmm.
create more successful Africa. So I definitely want to create an African fund that also invests in women, that allows young people to really get that early push to really build their businesses to the next level. So I just wanted to make that to answer that question in this call, because I think
Yeah.
it's really important for people to understand, once you've gone through this journey, how else can you pass it on to other
Mm.
people in a much more bigger scale, to believe in themselves. And for me, it's, I really want to come back and invest in other
Hmm.
Africans to do better than me in this journey.
Wow. I love that. I love that. There's so much that so much knowledge bombs you've dropped on this whole call. I've just been like listening and wow. Awesome. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Hilda, we really appreciate your time. Everybody who's tuned in, please go and check out Hilda's work as well and support her. This is something that we love as Nala. We love to see other entrepreneurs building their companies. And Hilda, again, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.